so it doesn't use up too much bandwidth. And in fact, I can actually close that tab. Just want to make sure nothing goes wrong in terms of like anything overheating. I've got the laptop fan on.
Yeah, I have some, but I'm not sure if it's working.
Oh yeah, I bought a laptop cooler. Oh no, we're live! Hello, folks.
Hi. We're talking technical stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to be asking. I'm going to be if you see the title, I'm going to be asking Hanna about. Please tell us about your studies and career. So, what it was like at school, the subjects you liked, you didn't like.
You mean even ever since I was a kid?
Yeah, because it'll give an idea of preferences.
Well, I could say that I've always been academically oriented. I went to school 1 year earlier than most people because I wanted to go there, and I learned. I'm a self-learned reader, so I learned to read by myself. I was 5 years old, so not that young, but it was quite untypical at that time in the 80s. And then I went to school, and I have always found school pretty enjoyable. I have never hated school, and I've always loved learning. And I think when I was in the elementary school, because in Finland, I'm Finnish, so in Finland we have 9 years of this obligatory school. So 6 years in the elementary school, and then 3 years in the, I don't know how you call it, but it's like maybe, I don't know how it goes in the States, but like lower high school or something. I don't know. Before you go to gymnasium, you go 3 years in this. Well, it's sort of high school, yeah.
If you say what age you were at that stage, people will be able to find an equivalent.
Yeah. So I went to school when I was 6. Usually people go to school when they're 6 or 7. And then I was the first 9 years. So I was I 15 or 16 when I finished this obligatory school. And then I went to this voluntary 3-year gymnasium that ends up with this. It's sort of like A levels in Britain, So I graduated from there, and then I was 19 because I spent 1 year in England during that gymnasium.
Oh,
here, yeah. So I believe that.
What was it like in England, and
it was
what
cool.
happened there?
It was an exchange year. I spent it in the southern part of England, in Turkey, and it was fun. I didn't study much. It was more like escape year, I guess. So it was a good experience. Not so much academically, but as a teenager, it was great to be abroad for 1 year. Yeah.
You can talk about that if you want to. It might show some preferences.
Yeah. But I explained something about my childhood because about what subject I liked.
Yeah.
In Finland, we have to study very broadly different subjects. We have these so-called I don't know how you call them in English, but these like academic subjects like maths and Finnish, and then we have to study several foreign languages. So I studied already in the elementary school. I studied only Swedish and Finnish. Finnish is my mother tongue. Then in the upper elementary school, I studied Swedish, English, and French, and Finnish. So I already knew 4 languages by that. And then I continued those then when I went to this gymnasium. But then we have to study like biology, geography, and all kinds of history, religious studies. Then in the upper elementary school, we had chemistry, physics, of course, maths. We had all the way through the school. And then we had arts and music and this physical education, which I hated. I have 2 subjects that I have been really bad at all my life. And the first one is physical education. I really hated it. And the other one is these crafts, you know, like sewing and knitting and stuff like that. I was really bad at it, so it was not my
Why did you hate the PE, the physical education?
I think there are several reasons. First, I'm not physically very talented, or I'm not kinesthetic. How do you say? I'm a very I'm more of a reader. I was a bookworm kind of a kid more. So I was not. I did always have some kind of hobby that had to do with sports, but I was never really good at sports. So that it was not my comfort area, and also I usually didn't really like the teachers, you know, because PE teachers are a bit maybe totalitarian, or you know, something not so nice, and that I usually clashed with them. I had with several PE teachers, and also with some other teachers. I was a good girl. I was overachiever as a child. I was always top of my class, and I got many these awards, or not awards, but you know, these every year they give these who is the best student of the class or something, and I usually got those because I was really competitive academically. But
How much of that drive to succeed, to do well, and how much was from you, and how much was from your parents?
Well, it's difficult to say because, of course, I think part of it was that I always got some kind of support and acceptance via that I was, you know, good at school and you know, achieved a lot in that area. But I was also, like I said, I learned to read by myself. I've always been very curious and wanted to understand things, and you know, and I also, it's not just that I wanted to be good at school for my parents, but I also wanted to be the top of my class because I didn't want to be worse than anyone else. So it was a little bit of that, I think. But mostly it was that I enjoyed gathering, you know, knowledge. But I was also a perfectionist, that I was really scared of making a mistake, or I have always suffered from fear of failure. So I think that was a huge motivation behind the urge to succeed. But my father has always been very supportive of my academic interests. So he has always thought that, you know, that you can do anything and you will be a doctor or something. You know, he has always pushed me, you know, I think in a positive, mostly in positive way, that, you know, that you can, you know, you have talents, you can do anything. So I think it has been also like a good thing. But of course, also some pressure, yeah.
What was without asking your age? Well, it probably implied, but it's talk about the era in which you studied. If people have a context of what were the distractions that didn't distract you?
What do you mean when I was a child? No?
Yeah, what I mean is I tend to think that, well, if I lived like 200 years ago, right, I would read a lot more than I would now, because there's fewer distractions. And now kids have more distractions from the internet and stuff. I was just wondering, the long winter evenings in Finland, was there more of nothing else much to do apart from, I don't know how good Finnish telly was.
I know. Yeah, no, I understood. My biggest distraction was I had many hobbies. So I played violin, and that took like 3 days a week for me. And then I went to art school. That took 1 day. And then I always had one kind of sport. So that took 1 or 2 days. So, you know, my schedule was quite busy. I had a hobby almost every day. And it was too much. I also suffered from migraines. So I was overloaded. I would have desired more time alone. Because then when I was alone, I remember I loved Fridays. Fridays were my favorite days because I never had any hobby then, and there was no school anymore. So Friday was my like a relaxing day, and for me it meant when I relaxed, and still if I relax, I go to my room. I want to close people out, and I read a book, and maybe I have some sweets or something, and I read a book, and I'm alone. Yeah, so I read a lot. Which
kind of books did you read?
When I was a child, I read a lot of these. I don't know, maybe people don't know, but there are these some Swedish very famous storytellers like Astrid Lindgren, who has this Pippi Longstrump. I don't know if you know, maybe not, but they're very famous children's books. Yeah, I loved fairy tales. I read a lot of like old fairy tales. I mean, old Finnish and these Grimm's brothers kind of quite horrible stuff also. But fairy tales, I love those. And then of course I read those Lucy M. Montgomery's, like Anne of Green Gables, and these Emily of the New Moon, and Little Women. This genre, so these girls books, but old-fashioned. And then I read a lot of books that were situated in the 19th century. I loved that area, and I still love that area, 19th century, like Victorian era. That's I read a lot of those books that were situated there, like his romantic books and stuff like that. Already, I read them already as a child. Yeah.
Right. So, how good was television at the time?
I
mean, if it had been really good, that might have distracted you from the books.
I think I watched TV too. We only had 3 channels, but I did spend some time watching TV, mainly some series like the Cosby Show or something like that. I don't know if you remember those days. And then some series, some movies. But I think reading was more important than TV. Yeah.
And there weren't distractions such as, I mean, lots of boys at the time would like play computer games, which would be like a huge distraction.
My brother had computer and he played a lot. I played sometimes, but no, I didn't have my own computer, so it was more like a random, occasional leisure time. But I had a lot of friends. I would say that I spent a lot of time with my friends. I always had some kind of best friend, so that was difficult for me. And I had boyfriends already. When I was in the elementary school.
Well, the audience could probably see that you probably would have.
Oh, yeah, but I remember I married first time when I was 5 years old. So.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I started early, so yeah.
Right. So what age are we up to? So you said that you didn't like PE. You were talking about crafts. Crafts. Was it just that you were bad at it, that you hated it?
Yeah, I tried to be, creative, but I'm just clumsy with them. I have these ideas, but I'm not good at, making things with my hands. And it's been a joke in my family because my mother is an art teacher, and even my father is a lot better in this. He's actually really good with it, all the kinds of crafts, and my both grandparents. But I'm some kind of like black sheep in our family that I'm not good at. I'm just not good at doing those kind of practical things.
Because I think with typology that people always have to take into account circumstances, and so that was a theme with Jeff last night. What did you think of religious studies?
I don't come from a religious family, but in Finland it goes so that most people, especially when in the 80s when I was a child, most people belonged and still belong to Lutheran Church, and so did I. So I was baptized as a child or as a baby, like as a tradition, like it was a convention. And that's because I was part of a church. I had to take part in the religious studies at school also. But I've never been really very religious or spiritual. I remember maybe I believed in God as a child, and I had some kind of compulsory praying thing at some point. I remember that it was sort of every evening I had to, say this prayer, because if I didn't, then something bad would happen. So it's sort of like, magical thinking, which is very typical for kids. But I think I grew out of it finally in the teenage years. but I had to study religious studies because you cannot choose the so-called ethical studies if you belong to the church. So I didn't have, and I don't have a strong relationship to religion. But this is a bit ironic because I'm a theologian. I'm a master of theology, so I have spent a huge amount of my life studying religion, which is a bit weird, maybe taking this background. But I would say that my interest in religious studies and religion has to do with my interest in human nature and humanity and culture. So it's more about that. I see religious studies as some kind of humanistic or historical or anthropological or behavioral science. So I don't see it about being about God or divinity as such, but about human phenomena.
What did you? Later on, when we talk about the theology, we could talk about what you felt about the values within it, that sort of thing. But so when you're in, say, in order so people can get an equivalent, did you take any optional subjects?
Yeah. So yeah, we had to take my first optional subjects were when I was this upper elementary school, so around from 12 to 15 or 16 years old, and then at some point we could choose three additional, or we could choose these subjects, and I chose music because I played violin and we had a really nice music class then. So I chose music, and then I chose I chose home economics, so cooking, because I was not good at it, but I wanted because I was so overachieving that I wanted to have, and I had already many academic subjects, so I wanted something a bit more relaxing, something a bit different. So I chose music and home economics because of that, and then I chose French, as French was my third.
When I talked to Jeff last night, a theme was that he had to do a lot of mandatory subjects that he was not suited for. So, for instance, he had to do mathematics up until he graduated at about 18. When did you stop doing? I don't know, but when what was it like for you, mathematics? When did you stop, or did you go on?
Then when the big change happens when if you continue to gymnasium or high school, then you choose quite liberally. Well, even there we have to take some courses in most subjects, but then you can really go deep into maths or some other academic fields or natural sciences or psychology or something, or languages or some. And I initially, when I started this high school, I initially took this natural science road because I was thinking that I want to be a doctor. And in Finland, if you want to be a doctor, you have to study physics and chemistry, and you cannot study physics if you don't study advanced mathematics. So it went sort of hand in hand. And I started with that, but after the first year, I had this some kind of, I don't know, late teenage tantrum or something that I wanted to quit physics. I didn't like physics.
What age were you at the time?
16.
Were you 16, 17?
16, yeah, 16, 17, around that age. So I quit physics, which meant that because I quit physics, it meant that I cannot be a doctor, basically. So I quit this. I had wanted to be a doctor for all my childhood. So I really I gave up a big dream of mine, and it sort of made me lose sight of my future. So that after that I didn't have any idea what I want to do after I graduated. But then I went to England for 1 year, and then in England I took some A-level studies. So I took French and biology and maths. I took maths because I knew that if I don't study maths for 1 year, I will really have trouble in Finland. So I took maths because of that. And then I took, of course, English. So those I studied in England. But I did keep on studying advanced mathematics. I have always been quite okay in math. I'm not particularly bright in maths, like that I would like to study it in the university or anything. But I wasn't bad. I think I was pretty good at it until the very end of the high school, when I started dating, and then I didn't do my homework so much. So then it's it's a common joke that usually if you get a boyfriend or girlfriend, your math grade will drop. So that happened to me. But I was, because some people are really clearly better at languages than maths, but I think I was pretty okay in both. So I didn't have any specific. I have never had any special talents. That's the thing. I have been quite maybe better than average at all academic subjects. But then my my bad ones have been this physical education and crafts. So yeah. So that has been like most typical to me.
Were you also when you were doing the physical education, what did you think of the competitive atmosphere? Were you turned off by it?
Well, I get very stressed and anxious about it. I don't know if it's because I am competitive or if it's because I am not competitive. I don't know. That's really, I have had trouble identifying. I don't like the feeling of being stressed, so I don't really enjoy it. But I can be competitive if I'm in a situation which requires it, if it makes sense. But I don't look for situations that are competitive.
Right, I can say what happened to me, and then see how you compare. Is I did 2 A levels, biology and chemistry, and I did really badly and didn't revise for them, and I ended up with 2 Ds.
Yeah.
Right. Now that fear, and only just scraping into university, that fear of failure made me work really hard in university and revise so much, and that I ended up with a 2-1, which is a pretty good degree, I suppose. But so I just wondered if it was like with you, it's like I'm going to study in order to avoid the horrible feeling of the pressure.
Yeah.
The fear of failure. Yeah,
fear of failure has been and still is a huge factor in my life, and I think it's a big motivator. And of course I don't like it, because I think it's not a good motivator. It's not a positive. It's very negative, in fact. So I think the older I have become, the less I have accepted this. So I have started avoiding situations where I have to compete.
So just for our British viewers, so would you say that was the level of the subjects that you did, the sophistication of the subjects that you did in Finland, was it about the same level as A levels?
Yeah, it's the interesting thing is though that it's quite different because in England you only take a few A levels, and then you don't take anything else. But in Finland it's very different, because we have to take a very broad. So our education is a lot broader. We are much more sophisticated, like classically sophisticated. But maybe then in England it might go. I didn't take the A levels that I got were the first year A levels, so I cannot say how deep they go. I don't know how deep they go.
Which year was that? Because there have been changes. I can.
I was 95 and 96. I was in England.
Oh, so you're younger than me then.
I was. I'm 36.
Yeah, I'm 39.
I'm 36.
I said that. Damn.
You cannot take it back anymore. Yeah.
It's same with Jeff. Jeff's same age as me.
Okay.
Right, because they changed it to. Anyway, we won't get into the nitty gritty of A levels and AS levels. Americans not interested in that. But then, so when you graduated from the gymnasium, what were your top grades, and then how you transitioned into your then university stuff?
Yeah. Well, I graduated with pretty good grades. I got the top grades, the best grade, the top grades in Finnish, and which is the same as English for you. So in Finnish and in English and in these, I don't know how you translate them into English, but we had one test for several like these natural sciences, psychology, religious studies, philosophy, everything. There was one test, so I got 1 grade for this one test. Sorry, and I got the top grade, and I chose psychology, biology, and religious studies. So those were my top grades. Wait, I drink a little.
It's okay.
And then I got the second top grade in Swedish and in French, and then the third highest from maths, the advanced maths. So, and my graduation or diploma, how do you call it? The paper when you graduate. What is it called? The paper.
Probably a diploma.
A diploma, yeah. So it was so good that I got into university without having to take part in the tests.
Yeah.
So I started. Yeah. So I started studying with biology, and I I studied biology for 1 year, but it didn't feel right because I was always interested in human biology and in human nature. But if you go to study biology at the university, it's not about human biology. It's I don't know if you know how it is, but it's a lot more.
Yeah, I did applied biology at uni.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not about just humans, but a lot other things. It was partly interesting. I liked microbiology and stuff like that, but it was not my special interest. And then and I also had a bit bad time. It was the city where I went was really far away. I knew nobody there, so I felt pretty alone, and I got some eating disorders, and it was bad time. So I just wanted to come back to southern part of Finland. So then next year I moved to back to south, and I again got in to university with only my papers or my diploma, so I didn't apply. I applied to study psychology, but I didn't get in. It's very difficult to get in to study psychology here. I was really close, but I didn't get in, so I was a bit depressed about that. But I got into and I studied computer science for 1 year. I didn't really study it. I took some courses, but then it was really not my thing. I studied social psychology from the uni. You could choose some subjects like really.
What did you think? What did you think of the social psychology?
So, I liked it. I really liked it. It was. I knew already then that psychology is one of my main interests, so that's why I wanted to study psychology at first. And now I sometimes think that I should have just applied again, but I don't know. I have very difficult time coping with these kind of failure, because it felt like a failure. I didn't get in there, and then I thought I'm never gonna get in there, so I quit. I sort of gave up my dream. So then next year I had to think, okay, what do I want to study now? And then I was running out of time because I couldn't decide. So my dad said, why don't you apply to theology? Because theology is, which is true, it's the education in theology here. It's not under any church. It's a academic free subject. So it's under university faculty. So I thought, okay, it's a bit easier to get in there. And my dad said, you can study, all kinds of, you can study history, philosophy, psychology, all that kind of stuff there. And I thought, okay, let's try it. And then I got in because it's a bit easier to get there. And then I started studying it. And there were parts of it that I liked, really, like religious studies. Comparative religion is really great. And that's where I did my master's thesis under comparative religion. I specialized in anti-Semitism. Really, very happy, like Holocaust and anti-Semitism and all these happy subjects. and Judaism, and then also, I like multiculturalism, these kind of things. And already then I realized that I'm quite prone to a multidisciplinary perspective. So I knew that I had studied social psychology, that I took some other like European studies, something like that, and some language courses. I was pretty, typical humanistic student, that I wanted to take, a bit of that and a bit of that. So it was some kind of a fruit salad, academic fruit salad.
People should already have an idea of your type.
Yeah, that's yeah, that might be, yeah, that there might be some, because that's like, I think really that's what has happened in my life, that's a fact, and it has continued because after I graduated as a Master of Theology from comparative religion, then I didn't know what to do. I have two children, so I had got my children when I was still a student, and I was a bit, I don't know what to do. And then I thought maybe I can continue my studies, and I was not sure where to go or which topic to choose. I had lots of different ideas about my dissertation. Then I went to talk with different professors and asked what do they think, and then I talked with one professor who was in a different department than from where I graduated, and then she said, okay, I think your topic would be good here. And then I again changed my major. So I went back to systematic theology, and I ended up, which I'm doing now, I'm in philosophy of religion. So I'm doing dissertation on philosophy of death. So another happy subject. So I have sort of jumped a bit like between these.
Oh, right.
These humanistic fields. But now I have again changed my subject. Because I realized that there are no jobs for people like me if I ever get my PhD done. So I have to think, what do I want to do as a job? So I applied last spring. I applied to nursing school. So I thought I want a profession that I can work in social and health or social healthcare. Something that has to do with that. And I realized I need a profession, I need a qualification. So then I applied to this nursing school, and I got in, and now I'm sort of in a transition because I'm still doing my PhD until the end of this year. So that's my work, what I'm doing. But I have also started really slowly, but I have started taking these nursing school.
Right. So where do you think your theology PhD will lead?
Nowhere. I don't know if those theology PhDs lead really to anywhere. But I hope it would, I'm quite determined to get this qualification to be a registered nurse at some point. Right. I'm pretty sure that this, my theological background will be very useful, because if I can say that if I have any special area that, that I can say that I'm some kind of, how do you call it, specialist. It's ethics and philosophy and these kind of topics, and philosophy of death, and those are ethical or medical ethics and stuff like that. So I think it will be useful to also this nursing or healthcare studies, that people like me go there and take a little bit more theoretical or
Ideally, would you have liked to have been a counsellor?
Oh yeah, I would. I'm still thinking that's one strong option to get that qualification at some point. I would really like to be a counselor or therapist. Yeah.
I think, are there professions for, say somebody is of faith and they would like a counsellor to sort of give them counselling through the lens of a particular faith?
Yeah, and here, interestingly enough, here usually our church and cities or communes, they have one not society, but one place where they offer this family therapy, for instance. And it's not religious, but part of, some of the therapists are theologians. So it's very much possible for a theologian, without being a priest or pastor, it's possible to get a psychotherapist education. So that's, yeah.
What attracts you to nursing?
I think the biggest reason is that, like I said, that I want a qualification. I'm pretty tired with having this kind of education that gives me no, I don't have a profession, I don't have a profession, I don't have a qualification. There is no specific job that I could apply with my present day education. So I could I should create my job, which is not, well, it's okay, but I'm sort of missing the, I want a little bit more substance to my career plans. And I also, now when I have taken some courses in nursing, I also really enjoy the idea that I will learn to understand the background, like theoretical and this, like I don't know how to say it, paradigms behind the healthcare and like these procedures. So I'm really enjoying it. I'm sort of seeing the practical side of what I'm doing now in philosophy. For instance, when I'm thinking about hospice care or something like that. So now I'm getting the other side of it. So I'm really enjoying. I feel that I have this, that my these perspectives are sort of finally meeting each other. So I'm getting this more pragmatic approach. I know that I would not enjoy being only a nurse, but I will enjoy being a nurse and having this other education, so that I can, yeah.
So do you feel that as a nurse that your motivation is more caring for the person rather than the health of the person, and you would actually like almost slip in parts of counseling into it, because you're thinking of the person rather than just their physical needs?
Already now I know, when I've learned about different nursing fields, that I'm most likely will end up in as a psychiatric nurse, or hospice care, or something that has more holistic view on the people. I will doubt that I would end up as some kind of ER nurse or a surgery, or what this, I don't know what they are in English, but you know what I mean, this critical care nurse or something. I want to meet people.
I won't tell the audience which profile you read, but one of them you read, it said like stimulated by seeing suffering in others. Is that true?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you have heard my interest, so I think that that's definitely what interests me most. I have always been like that. My mother remembers, ever since I was a child, I have always been really loud to take care of the weakest, and to take care of the underdog. And I'm really my elder son is similar to me. I cannot stand any unfairness. I will be really reactive if I see that kind of stuff happening. And
so probably by now, like when Victor goes through your transcript of this, he's probably think, right, I know her type, now I'm going to work out her subtype.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know, maybe I should tell him that I have been typed as one type before in socianics, but maybe we don't.
Maybe let the audience guess if we don't let them. But they should know what type they are, or they need to go back to typology school.
Yeah. I think my main function should be my.
You're not an ESTP and you're not an ENTJ. That should be clear.
Yeah, that's pretty clear.
Right. So, right then, I think we've covered everything in this section. Oh, apart from that, I can ask some things about. Would you like to write some books, fiction and non-fiction?
I don't think I will write I don't think I will write fiction. When I was a child, I sometimes wanted to be a author or writer, but I don't think, or well, you never know. Sometimes I've had some ideas so that maybe I might develop, but I could see, okay, I have to say that yes, of course I will write a book because my dissertation will be a book. It's a monograph. But I hope I will get it out at some point, but I don't know when. But yeah, I probably will write books, and I hope that at some point I can use my knowledge and write a book on this that would sort of overlap nursing and ethics and stuff like that. That will be.
Right. So, do you think we've pretty much covered everything that can be covered?
Yeah, I think I've told
in this section.
Yeah. Yes.
So we'll end this one, and the next hangout will be on hobbies and interests.